Well, welcome once again to Calaveras Living. Now, many of you know out there are many, many beautiful bed and breakfast establishments throughout Calaveras County, as well as, of course, Tuolumne County and Amador County. And we're going to talk about the bed and breakfast business today with Mike McFarlane. He and his wife own a beautiful bed and breakfast outside Murphy's on Sheep Ranch Road called Querencia, and he knows everything, you know, almost. Anyway, Mike, it's good to see you.
But I'm not going to tell you everything.
Okay, good. Now,
some of it that we do at Querencia stays at Querencia, John.
It's like Las Vegas. Huh?
Oh, yes. Perhaps I'll tell you some of the stories.
Okay, off the air or on the air?
Well, I could tell a few on the air.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll get some of that. Now, how long have you both owned that?
We thought about that. We've actually had it open for 10 years, but it took us about 10 years to build, starting from dirt.
Yeah, how many square feet? It's really large.
Well, we've got about 8,000 square foot up there.
Well, and how many rooms for guests?
4. So it's small. It's a large structure, but it's a small, romantic facility. We have, you know, just couples only. No pets. No transients, no 2-year-olds screaming at night if we can avoid it.
Okay, how about 40-year-olds screaming at night?
That's one of the things we don't talk about.
Okay. Good. Now, that brings up a good point about bed and breakfast. Certain owners have certain rules, right? They'll take a certain clientele, or they can kind of build their clientele the way they want, right?
Yeah. Our clientele sort of sorts themselves out. We're expensive. We are rated the top bed and breakfast in the county. When Mary Jo and I set off to open a bed and breakfast, we attended a lot of them. We'd been to a lot of them in Europe and the United States, and there were a number of things we didn't like about them. For example, you know, getting Fruit Loops and milk for breakfast in the morning, and you know,
yeah, that's not a very good breakfast.
No, it isn't. No. Or somebody's canned muffins from Costco, or. Yeah. So, for example, we have individual breakfasts that we make on demand, and they have a wide range of variety to them. Ranges from Eggs Benedict to an oatmeal cake, whatever. Yeah, strange things.
So what got you interested in having a bed and breakfast?
You know, when you get to your late middle age, and perhaps a little older.
No, you're an early middle age.
You think about running a bed and breakfast. I mean, if you've done it, if you like people, if you like to cook, you say, well, wouldn't it be fun to run a bed and breakfast for a while? And let me tell you, be careful what you wish for, you may get it. It's one of those things that it's a lot of work. It is for us, we're on the weekends, because we're only open on weekends, which is the only way we could stand it. We're on in performance art 24/7 on the weekends. Sure. And it's what it is. It's performance art. Yeah. You're cooking, you're talking with the people, you're making some appetizers, you're pouring wine, you're showing them the chickens, you're splitting wood.
Right. You're easygoing and lots of fun, too.
Well, sometimes,
okay.
Yes.
No, I mean, you have to welcome the people.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
yes,
sure.
you have to do that. And by and large, the people who come deserve it. I mean, they are entertaining people. I was just thinking that today. We have very, very few losers at the bed and breakfast, or
that's
inn,
true.
Whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
We did have a fella who got married there. And I can tell this story because it's happened a long time ago, and perhaps the people have forgotten it. But anyway, it was a small wedding, and we hosted the wedding and then hosted a dinner. And the fellow who was getting married for the 4th time. The woman who's getting married was her first time, and she was so charming and sweet and such like. And this guy sort of laid back, and he wasn't interested, and he was kind of a jerk. What can I say? Yeah. You know, you get those, but they are the very, very minority. Most of the time, the people are there. They're there to have a good time. They're there to relax. Sometimes they're there to read a book, like Alan Chews, who is the book reviewer for NPR. He came up and he read books for 2 days. Oh, wow. Gave me his favorite writer, and gave me a couple of his own books, which his favorite writer was better. And Virginia Madsen was up, and she's just a delightful actress, and
Wow.
she was up and interested all things Calaveras, and was into going places, and she's used our place as the home base, and we get people like that, and the just wonderful people in general.
Well, it's a great place because you have a wonderful view, and you have a library, you have a wine room, all these things that you have. So people can, or there are places to hike, so people have a wide variety of things to choose from right there, in addition to the other things around in the county.
Calaveras County offers just a tremendous range of things to do, and people don't just go out and taste wine. They go to big trees. They go to the caverns of various places. They go around. It's a using our place as home base is a nice thing to do. They come back. They have a nap, or not.
Nice.
You know.
Now, do you have any idea how many bed and breakfasts there are in the area?
You know, I'm not sure. There are at least 10 or 11. There are probably a lot more informal bed and breakfasts.
Okay.
People who rent out a spare house or a spare bedroom or that kind of thing that don't hit the rolls. But you know, in general, they're the same kind of people that entertaining others and in general enjoying the process.
Even the informal ones need a license for that, though.
No.
Oh, they don't.
Well, a lot of it happens sub rosa. I mean, I will say that because the people in question have gone from Calaveras County, I will say we were encouraged to open. Don't tell us, just open up.
Yeah.
And so no, we wanted to do this legitimately, but at the time we were invited to open up illegitimately.
Oh,
that was a while ago,
Yeah.
and those people are no longer with the county, just as well.
Yeah, now you talked about the expense. Some bed and breakfasts, even say if there are a dozen or maybe 2 dozen, they can go from being very inexpensive to being very expensive, or say rather Spartan to being luxurious.
Oh yes, they have a wide range. You can go from a couch surfer who just takes, and by the way, couch surfing that my friend David told me about is an organized activity around the world, and people just go and sleep on somebody's couch who says, I have a couch for somebody to sleep on.
Hopefully they know the people.
No, they don't.
Oh, they don't?
This is an organized couch surfing activity all the way up to, you know, places in Napa. Some of them go for $1,200 a night. They say our place would go for $1,200 a night in Napa, but because we live in Calaveras County, it's a bit less expensive.
Well, just regular motels or hotels up there. We were making reservations for later this month, I think on the 25th. It was $629 a night, but with a 2-night minimum. And we said, we can stay in a nice Comfort Inn in Fairfield for $62.
Right. Well, that's what you're after if you're just spending the night or just using it as a place to sleep.
Sleep
exactly.
and take a shower.
But you know, our places like us, we cater to the people who are romantic, to the getaways, to somebody who wants absolute quiet and peace. And so we're expensive. We range from, you know, $300 a night to $400 a night.
But that includes, of course, breakfast and accommodations.
Yep. It includes wine, which we give away, you know, wine tasting. We do appetizers, and the appetizers we do are not Cheese Whiz on a Ritz.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, that's good. Now, there's no bed and breakfast association as such in this area.
Not a formal association. You know, various owners get together and complain about the tote and that sort of thing. But I've attended a few meetings, and I've just not. I personally have not been involved, and I don't think there is an association. Now, of course, there's CABI. There are the large statewide and national organizations of bed and breakfast owners, and they spend a lot of time trading information, marketing, that sort of thing. There are annual conferences. The people who are very serious about their bed and breakfasts in Calaveras County, like Michael Ninos at the Victoria Inn, and others will attend those, and they will come back with great ideas and try them out and do well. But because we're so small, we don't have the expense of that. And we're established enough and our reputation is such that we don't do much advertising. It just comes. Our business comes off the net mostly.
Of course, you had some national exposure a couple years ago, or how long ago was that?
Yeah, that was in 2003. We were on HGTV after the place was put together, and that caused us to have to put up the gate at the bottom of our driveway because we got a lot of looky-loos. Hey, there's the place that was on HGTV, and they come up. But we're a unique operation. It's a unique building. It's kind of fun. You know, you can visit it at QuerenciaInn.com. That's QuerenciaInn.com.
How did you give it that name, by the way?
My father, in his 80s, wrote a lot of poetry. And one poem he entitled Querencia, because it's a very slippery word in Spanish. It means, in the first meaning in the Royal Spanish Dictionary is the act of loving well. The second meaning is the place where large animals return to after venturing out. It's a bullfighting term, but, you know, equally appropriate to humans.
Sure.
And it's got, you know, a good 20 meanings. It's slippery because there's a different meaning for it in every Latin American country.
Yeah.
Now, I was going through this because, you know, I've been asked that question before.
Yes.
And there was a woman there from Mexico City, and she says, yes, you know, all that is correct. She said, I didn't know she was from Mexico City. She said, but then Mexico, when two lovers are really comfortable with each other, usually in bed, one will turn to another and say, tengo carencia, which in Mexico City means my soul is home.
I thought it meant wait in the truck.
Maybe it means that too.
No, I'm sorry. So I couldn't pass that up. so to her it meant what?
My soul is home.
Oh, wow.
So that's a nice meaning.
Yeah.
And who knows if it's correct, but anyway, the meanings for carencia tend to around home, the homesick. It's, you know, the place of comfort. My father took it to mean the place you stand to view the world, and he meant both physically and philosophically.
Well, that's good. Now, getting back to, you know, talked a little about breakfast, that you and Mary Jo, I know, both like to cook. Have you always had that interest, each of you individually, too?
Yes, we have, both individually and together. When we were married, first married in our young 20s, neither of us was a very good cook. And so I was in the service, and we were in Boulder, Colorado, believe it or not, and fell in with, number one, some senior officers who were very interested in cooking, and their wives were too. And that was when the Time Life Cookbook series came out, with Provincial France being the first cookbook. And we cooked our way through it.
Oh, wow.
Every recipe we cooked in that book, and gradually acquired an eye and a feel for the kinds of things we like to do.
Yeah. So then you just kept getting better and better?
Yeah. We'll experiment with our guests. One of the things we do is to reverse engineer memories. When I was a child, my father would take me to San Francisco about once a year. I was raised in a town called Julian down in Southern California, smaller than Murphy's.
Yeah, I know.
And and we stopped in Castroville every time and had French fried artichokes, the little tiny ones. They were wonderful. And now, if you go down there, you get little dough balls, which are disgusting things, dripping with oil. And so what I've done is been able to reverse engineer that so I can reproduce what my memory says were the French fried artichokes. And we do a number of things like that, of comfort food from the 50s, and enjoy making that.
Now, sometimes some of your guests will have their own tastes, and they'll have requests, certain things they want to eat, or certain things they don't want to eat, right?
For example, some of our guests are gluten-free, and some of our guests are lactose intolerant, and some of our guests will not eat something either on religious or moral grounds, or simply because they believe that berries are bad for you. I can't believe somebody would say that, but perhaps they did. Anyway, you get these odd requests, and it's a challenge to fill them. In fact, they're fun because the recipe, what I do for breakfast is about 7 different things, but I do them quick. I can make eggs Benedict from go in about 8 minutes, and that includes making the hollandaise. So, you know, I enjoy stuff like that.
A typical day, how early would you or Mary Jo or both of you
6.
get up? 6?
I get up at 6. I'm the morning guy. I put on the coffee. I do the fruit. I make the scones. I make scones fresh every morning we have guests. Then I set up the mise en place for breakfast, and then I wait for people. Have a cup of coffee. They come down. Mary Jo she takes out the scones and hot coffee or whatever their drinks are in the morning. It's one of our little services, and so the guests can sit out on their balconies, drink the coffee, eat a scone, and it isn't one of the Starbucks hockey pucks.
Yeah,
it's a real scone.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm talking too much, maybe. But anyway,
you're the guest. You're supposed to. In fact, the ideal interview is where the host says, "Here he is," and the host just sits back. I love that.
Well, the scones are interesting. I want to have good scones, and I'd had them once or twice in my life, and so I modeled them after these. If you go out of Kew Gardens in London, where we lived at one time, there's a tea shop there that was established in 1642, something like that. And they have cream scones there. And I've always remembered the cream scones because they were light and fluffy and just beautiful. And so I've experimented with recipes until I can reproduce those cream scones. And so you get a light, fruit-filled scone that is... people come down and they like the recipe so much. I just have copies printed and handy so I can give it to them.
So you must get quite a few repeat customers.
We do. Yeah. We do. We've had one group who has been up from Modesto. I guess Buzz and his wife have been up for maybe 4 or 5 times, and they're just wonderful. Nan. Yeah. His wife, and they are a kick, and we've got to know them, and they brought their whole family of grown children and their spouses, so they filled the inn about 3 weeks ago. Wow. And they've been back a lot.
Well, of course, you mentioned the guy who got married for the 4th time.
Yeah, we haven't seen him again, thank goodness.
Okay, but you do have a number of weddings there, too, or special occasions,
Not
right?
so much. We tend not to certainly have large weddings.
But people ask?
Some people do, but the venue is not quite large enough for most of the people who want a big wedding. My daughter's wedding was the biggest wedding we had up there, and we had 130 people, most from out of the country. But we used to do that, and now it's just not worth the hassle. Just not worth the hassle. We would rather host people, have a good weekend, and then take the rest of the week off to go do something else, which is the only way we can afford an inn. You don't make money at it.
When do you and Mary Jo do your shopping? I mean,
during the week.
During the week.
During the week. If I travel, I'll come back and stop in Costco or something. Or Mary Jo and I will, when we go down and see the grandchildren, we'll go down and stop on the way back, shop. We shop in Costco, we shop in Trader Joe's, we shop at the Rainbow Market in San Francisco. Those kinds of things.
Are there Whole Foods markets up here? Or are they just in Los Angeles?
There are in San Francisco. We don't go to Whole Foods. Okay. There are lots better places to get better food for cheaper. Okay. I mean, even Murphy's has a wonderful market. Sierra Thrills. I mean,
where do you get your best produce?
From Fisher Farms. And it's Chick Fisher down in Manteca, who has been in the business. He only sells what he grows himself. And he has soft fruit starting about now, and we'll have it through October. It's wonderful stuff. Chick is sells it inexpensively, and he has the best peaches and cherries and things of anybody I know. But there are a number of stands down there. We try to get the fresh, best fruit. In fact, the fresh, best food we can for the clients. We had the people who run. No, I can't remember their name. They're the watermelon growers in the valley, and they came up, and he and his wife came up, and we served them. Thank goodness, their watermelons.
Where do you get your best figs?
My trees.
Oh, is that? Oh, yeah. Oh, that's right.
I have 5 trees, and during the season we pick and can about 5 gallons of figs probably, and we those are very nice. We do a lot of tomatoes. I have a fairly large garden, and I have 3 75-foot rows of This year, black tomatoes. I wanted black tomatoes again. So I've got black crims, Paul Robeson's, can't remember all the different names, but they're wonderful things.
And how do you keep the animals away from them?
A big deer fence and a shotgun.
Oh, well,
the shotgun is for noise.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's good. We can't have killings going on out there. But you're. Let's see. I guess the main thing I want to know: how much do you know about the other bed and breakfasts here? Have you been to some of them?
We had been before we opened our own in the area. You know, they range from people who are trying to make a nickel at it, trying to run a bed and breakfast 7 by 24. That's a tough job, 7 by 24, and there are the lifetime of those type of innkeepers is 5 years or less.
Yeah, I mean, they just get burnt out?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. It's an easy thing to get burned out. I mean, we get burned out after 4 days of doing this. And if you're on 7 by 24, as you have to be, many people have to be, I think they burn out. You know, you go back and look at some of those inns, not necessarily here, but, you know, in our experience, and you go in the kitchen, and the woman who is running a bed and breakfast, the female partner is happy that, you know, with guests and putting up a brave face, and the guy is sitting back there drinking a cup of coffee, staring at you, and wishes you were gone because he has to fix the toilet. You know, and it's tough. God, it's tough.
So there's a real challenge to run a bed and breakfast of any size.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we can burn out. The only reason we've lasted in the business we have, as long as we have, is because we work only on weekends. And we enjoy people. If you don't enjoy people, or you have to work 7 by 24, if you don't enjoy that, I mean, then it's a tough job.
Yes. Have you ever been to the bed and breakfast in, I think it's called Samoa, over by Eureka?
I've not. I've not.
It was an old Army barracks, and it's right by a little airstrip right on the coast.
Oh, my.
And the man does the cooking there, and he has some real special things for breakfast. His wife works for some municipality close by, but I've always, you know, I think probably every couple says, hey, it'd be nice to have a bed and breakfast. And I think, gee, their routines, and they're open 24/7 too.
It's a tough job. So, it's really, really tough to do 24 by 7.
Yeah. Besides the fact, I mean, you have to like people and welcome them and have that attitude and have the energy to, you know, some want to be entertained, some want to be left alone. But besides liking people, what advice would you give for people who are thinking of getting a bed and breakfast?
As I said, be careful. You have to enjoy working hard. Do not expect to make a lot of money at it. Expect the worst, hope for the best. You know, because things happen. Things happen at a bed and breakfast. We were fortunate enough we were living in the Bay Area and went to the Claremont Hotel for an orientation for people who wanted to open a bed and breakfast.
Well, who was running that?
Oh, it was a woman who had been running a bed and breakfast for 8 years, and she was a very lucid, pleasant, entertaining speaker, and she told us about all the I was going to say dirty underwear, but sometimes that's literal, you know. I mean, you know, it's a tough job, and anything can happen, and people will spill their coffee in the sheets. People will wear their makeup on and when they go to bed and ruin $200 sheets. People, I mean, you cannot get metal makeup, you know, the bronzers and that kind of thing, out of sheets. Somebody asked her, I suppose I can say this, asked her what's the hardest thing to get out of sheets, and she said, oh, blood and semen. Wow. You know, I mean, it is what it is.
Well, if they come for a romantic weekend.
Exactly, exactly, John.
So, I mean, every day's,
every day is a new thrill.
But I mean, there's some good things, some bad things, but evidently over a period of time, it gets to be a little grueling.
It does if you have to do it constantly, and even
you just say weekends save you. I mean,
weekends save us.
Yeah.
I mean, I have another job, and so I work at that job. And Mary Jo, bless her heart, you know, keeps the place running during the day. I mean, we're the staff. We have a housekeeper who comes once or twice a week, but otherwise we do it.
Yeah.
everything, and that's a lot of square footage.
Oh, it sure is. But you put a lot of money into that.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, once you start, we built it as a residence, but I built it to commercial code just in case. Yeah. And it was a bigger house than we intended. And finally, you know, you just have to put everything on red, convert everything to cash, put it on red, and say, roll the wheel, you know. Well, you know, John.
Yeah. But that's it. You know, it is such a beautiful place, and I might tell the people out there, we live not too far from Querencia, and it's a beautiful area and beautiful view, beautiful sunsets, sunrises, and it's just a nice retreat for people who want to get away for various reasons.
There are other wonderful bed and breakfasts in the area, and I would recommend all of them. Because a bed and breakfast is a personal experience. It isn't a impersonal motel experience. Yeah. It's a personal experience. Even the worst is better, I think.
Would you, I mean, were a couple of others, you mentioned the one in Murphy's, any you would recommend this?
There are a number. The best thing that anyone could do is go to Google or to Yelp or to TripAdvisor, one of the fair arbiters of bed and breakfasts, and read the reviews and read about them, visit their websites. There are a number of good places in the area.
Okay. And there are usually pictures and things about the food and things about the people who run them. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Whenever we travel, we use our little phones to look for the local restaurants and the local bed and breakfasts.
Oh, so you do stay in them?
Oh, yeah, still.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, you learn from everybody. Sometimes
I've learned from you, and I know you. Okay. Anyway, in closing, any advice or any comments just in closing?
I don't think so. If anyone's thinking seriously about it, I advise them to seek out a lot of information and do the numbers, because they will not get rich. They get rich in spirit, but they don't get rich in money. Okay. It's something you do because you have a love for it, not because you are trying to make a living.
Well, that sounds like good sound advice. You ought to run for office.
Oh, I think not. Particularly, never mind. I'm not even going there. Okay. You know, that's something you cannot be as political.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. No, you don't make any political comments to your visitors.
No, I do not.
Or religious, probably, either.
I'm very careful. We both are.
Okay. Well, we've learned a lot, and I hope it interests you folks. And I know my wife and I visited a lot of bed and breakfasts, especially overseas, and it's good to hear right from the, so to speak, horse's mouth. Okay.
Nay.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Good to see you,
And good luck
John.
in the Preakness.
Oh, thank you. And you too.
Okay. I think we're having too much fun. We'll come back next time, and I hope you join us. Bye-bye.